what you want to finally get is at the bottom of page 2, where it says, it gives you the formula for motivating potential scoring. Calculate yours for your job, and then we'll discuss what the range of values is and the like. And you're going to do more. You're going to do the rest of this also. Okay. I'm going to just have to assume that we're ready to talk about it. Calculate the MPS, and on page 209 in the text, it has a description of various scores and what those mean. If you had an MPS score between 1 and 42, or less than 43, we're going to put you in the low category, low motivating potential. As we do this, and as I describe these levels of motivating potential for your jobs and say things such as you will not have as much motivation and so on, I want you to do some self-reflection about your own feelings. So that helps us either validate or invalidate what we're dealing with. The middle area is going to be 42 to 84, and the high end is 85 and up through 125, which is the maximum score. 5 times 5 times 5. On the high end, everything that I was describing about intrinsic motivation, growth satisfaction, the presence of the critical psychological states, should hold true for you. A person at the low end, and we'll see in a moment whether we have anybody well below 42 on their particular job, a job with a score that low likely is not a source of intrinsic motivation. Likely the person goes to work every day because of the money. Likely the person has to do that particular job, especially if you're a college student. And if you're a business school student, I'm assuming your aspiration goes something a little bit higher than working a fast food job or something of that sort, such as portrayed in Reality Bites, the BizFlick scene for this chapter. In the middle range, 42 to 84, that's the middle. So it can go in either direction depending on which end of the scale that you appear. So first, I want to hear from the excited, highly motivated people in the room who have a job with an MPS of 85 or more. Do we have anyone? Wow. Oh, yes. 85 or higher. What is your score if you're willing to tell us?
For that one, perfect.
125?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I'm not working the job anymore, but 18 years doing the job and very motivating.
Very motivating. And why? If you could tell us what the job is and so on.
I was working with nonprofit, and you really had to be a self-starter. You had to be self-disciplined, and so your satisfaction was going to come out of how what you brought into the job and what you started with, what you finished with. You can see the results and the results of the clients.
Okay. So the clients that you worked with were people you could observe from when they first came into the agency to whatever you did to help them and the change that occurred in them as a result of your work and the work of others. Now that's feedback from the job itself.
What was and how well you were doing the job? You know, you could do the job on a low scale, which many people chose to do, or
Right.
you could put a lot of effort into the job.
Okay. Now, do we have anybody in the room blessed to have a score of 42 or less? Don't rush to the table here. Yes, sir.
I work at Define Fitness, just at the front desk, and all I do is check people in, take their money, really not that exciting at all. And it's the same thing for 6 hours a day, just monotonous. Like, it's got good incentives because they give us free gym memberships and everything, so that's kind of why I'm there. But the job itself is the most boring thing I've ever done.
Most boring thing you've ever done?
Well, not really, but...
That's fair. Are you willing to reveal your MPS to us, please?
13.
13. Would someone take his pulse? I believe it. I don't have to go to Define Fitness, but I've done clerical stuff, and I can just imagine sitting there for 6 hours with whatever break you're allowed. Steady stream of people. They're all coming in to do about the same thing, you know, the exercise in different patterns, pay their money, blah, blah, blah. And it keeps repeating itself so that just one after... Think about it for a moment, everyone. He gets to look forward to the next client. Imagine that. It's not like dealing with, you know, out there on the exercise floor, working with a person and trying to help them get into condition. None of that. Your job, sir.
I actually posted a different one, but I wanted to see what this one was, and this one's actually lower. I worked at a paper plant, and I was what you call a fire watch. And you just stood next to a welder with a fire extinguisher for 16 hours. And you did nothing. And then sometimes it was just the most bogus thing, because on the bottom level, there was like cardboard stuff everywhere, but it was wet. There was no way there was going to be a fire, and it got me ankle deep in crap. And I'm just watching this guy weld for 16 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And that was, it was torture. Yeah. It was really torture. I got a 5.
I think this is a first. I'm trying to reflect. I've done this for 20 years or so, and I think it's a first. Now, that really want to take your pulse. How long did you work on that job?
For about a month, because it paid well. It paid like $18 an hour.
But you had to work 16 hours straight?
It was 16 hours a day, and you got 1 or 2 days a week if you were lucky off. Then after the month, I said, you know, I can't do this.
Was this a high turnover job in general?
Yes.
Okay, I would expect it based on the description.
While I was there, I think about 3 or 4 different fire watches were just coming through.
Yeah, watch this in your organizations, and especially if you are managers or become managers. The design of the job can have a critical effect on the level of turnover if you have options, no matter how much the pay is. So they're bribing you to work there.
Yeah.
Or were bribing you to work there at $18 an hour. You might be able to do it for a while, but it becomes mind-numbing, and actually in the long run, it's dangerous.
Yeah, I started actually helping the welders and stuff like that, and then people were starting to get on me for that because of their liability. I wasn't supposed to touch a tool at all.
Right.
Just stand there and watch them weld. We'll never do that again.
Isn't that like watching water boil, or using some metaphors? Okay, there was another one over here, low MPS, 42 or less.
Yeah, mine is low, but mine is a work-study job, so it's in the office. You know, I do get jobs given to me periodically, but it's not very active. So, but I do have a lot of time to research for homework, do homework, and that's why I like it.
Yeah.
But it's like I wrote, it's not a job that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I say I will not sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's just not me. But and I just work like 3 hours a day, so I can handle it. But I have independence. I can work as I please. I make copies, you know,
Okay.
for all the professor and things like that. So
Okay, it's a lot of compensatory effects.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In the middle, what is the let me go back. Is the 5 that he had the lowest score in the room? Anybody got a lower than a 5? If you you're kidding. He didn't want to fess up.
After listening mine's not nearly as bad, but the new position I have, I hate it. I hate it.
That's the one you were promoted to, am I right?
No.
No.
I demoted myself because they made me choose between work and school.
I see.
So, but the one I have now is just mindless. Your life is ruled entirely by whoever is the supervisor for the day. Or a manager, because pretty much every manager and supervisor in the warehouse tells you where exactly they want you to go and what they want you to do.
Okay.
There's never a completed task. You're perpetually thrown around by members as well as your supervisors. It's just
Okay. Okay. Tough stuff. All right, in the middle. The rest of you are in the middle. Go with you. I'd like to have an example. A couple of examples around the room.
I work at REI in the shop working on snowboards and bikes. So the only thing I think that was low was the autonomy, because it's kind of like when you have a chip in a snowboard, you can only fix it one way, really. So it's like there's not much variation you can do on how you know what I mean, like depending on certain whatever you're fixing, whatever you're cleaning up. So it's kind of that's the only thing that scored low, but everything else scored 4 and 5. So.
Okay.
But I've enjoyed the job. It seems fits me right now. Like my priorities right now, it fits me really well. I get a lot of benefits for it. So.
Okay. This is an important observation because you're at a point in your evolving careers where you're going to, especially as students, you're going to have kind of these, in some cases no-brainer jobs, in other cases a little bit more brainer, but not quite what you possibly aspire for. What's dangerous for us is to get locked into that kind of a job at the low end early on in one's career and life and never get out of it. And that happens to people. I wouldn't expect it to happen to this population as much as it happens to other populations. And I've seen it, and you can see it all around you where that's all they do is 8 hours a day, 16 hours a day of fire watch. And when you get done, you go to the bar. I mean, they could just go to, Spectators or any of these places and see who comes in there. They come in, they can't smoke in there anymore. They're bummed out. They have to stand outside to smoke. But they come in and they have their beer or whatever they have, and they gross and talk and so on, and it's sort of a compensatory effect from the stress of that type of work, and then go back, have some sleep, start over again the next day. Okay, yes, sir.
I kind of listening to both of the gentlemen, and I feel the same way. I work at the labs, and I know it sounds weird that I'm going to say it, but I'm bored out of my mind.
At Sandia Labs?
Yeah, I'm bored out of my mind.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. It's because, like, before us working on the servers, and you have a lot of responsibility, and they pretty much leave you alone to let stuff go the way it's supposed to. As long as you do what you're supposed to, everyone else is happy. But we've been going through a lot of budget cuts, and so I wound up having to take another position where it's like computer support. So basically, I take care of all the computers, just something else I could do to stay employed. So I take care of desktops now, and every call is a problem. No one calls with anything good. It's always a problem. Every time I answer the phone, every time it rings, it's never done something good. I know it's another 5.
Excellent.
So, and it's the same thing. It's always a Microsoft product, always broken. It's the same crap over it, and you'll get a newer computer, and they'll put out a newer piece of crap operating system that'll slow it down. You're
the guy who doesn't like Microsoft. Okay, good example. And by the way, it's a living the feedback part. That is, you get the telephone call and it's always about something that is wrong. It's not saying, "Hey, you did a really good job for me on that last whatever." That's